For all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer, and I am inside of the Hauntformer mobile with my good friend Jared, the movie expert, to help me review the creepy
and kind of funny,
and actually kind of funny movie, The Visit. Now, basically, we don't want to spoil too much yet. Basically, it is a movie about these two kids who document a trip for the first time meeting their grandparents, and all this weird stuff starts to happen at night, and it just gets worse and worse until the end, and you will definitely see why this movie is terrifying, yet also pretty funny, because there's a lot of funny scenes between the two kids, and between the grandparents, the age differences and everything. And overall, this movie is not very gory and not very jump scary, although it does have some jump scare. But most of the movie is, in fact, just creepy and unsettling.
It relies on a very unsettling... Instead of relying on forced jump scares.
Like, jump scares aren't really that scary except for in the moment, but when you leave the theater, you're kind of dwelling on everything that happened, and it's really terrifying. So definitely, this is a scary movie that you should check out and watch.
Directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
In his return to the horror genre.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the fact that it was a found footage, or at least that's what the filming type is called. It wasn't really found footage; it was a documentary, but same kind of filming style. And I really think that fit this movie well, and it made sense.
I think it helped the scare
tone
factor
and creepiness,
especially.
And it made sense. Like in some movies, it doesn't make sense why you filming this,
because
but like in this
these
movie,
kids have never met their grandparents.
Yeah, so they're documenting
and the
it.
girl is a filmmaker herself, is a wannabe filmmaker, so it would make a little more sense because, say, if I had never seen any of my family members, or even you, I think
we would want to document this, and especially with all the technology. And I think that this movie really does that well.
And I think especially, and without giving anything away, especially in the second and really third parts, mostly, it really pays off because there's an added suspense factor to that. And I think
also I like how it is realistic. Like the kids use Skype and they're like in their room and they're on their phones and there's no Wi-Fi and all these different things that really make it relatable to people, which all makes it that much more scary. And plus, we all know that a lot of elderly people suffer from different things. Of course, not this extreme, but it kind of fits in with real-world scenarios.
Right, which again
makes it creepier. So, what do you want to give this movie on a scale of 5?
I would give this movie, out of 5, I would give it a 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I really like the fact that movies are really creepy, and while it wasn't my favorite horror movie, it was definitely really good. I really enjoyed it. So it's somewhere between 4.5 and 4 for me, but I think I'm going to go with a solid 4 for this movie. I just wish I could get to know more about each of the characters. That's something I really like in horror movies, when they elaborate on characters.
But the movie did a good job. For the hour and a half that you did watch the movie. You really kind of related to the characters. And you really did care for the characters, which in most found footage movies they lack. Because it's an hour and a half, and it's these
and like in Friday the 13th, you get to know them for a second, and then they're just stabbed to death or whatever. But this movie really lets you relate to the two main kids and the two elderly people in this movie. And the acting was great, too.
Definitely.
So now, this is the end of the review for several people, but if you want to hear our spoiler side, stay tuned right now. So now we're going to actually talk about a few spoilers before we go.
Right.
So basically, if you've seen the movie or just want to know spoilers, they aren't the real grandparents.
That's the craziest...
That's the scary part. Once they're on Skype with the mom, they're like, hey, look, Grandma and Grandpa outside. And they're like, yeah, those aren't them. That was the part really scary for
in the movie where... Like, and that's when
that was a great turning point.
And it was one of the creepiest.
Well done too,
because it's very unsettling in the fact that they're inside this house
with these two people, and they still have to kind of play along.
And it was on Friday, which is the whole movie. That's the whole thing too. That the movie plays it off in a very documentary style, where it goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So at the end, it had a very Five Nights at Freddy's feel, where you're hoping that it'll just cut to the next day because you want them to escape and you want them
to live. And these they do all kinds of creepy stuff. You know, the lady's throwing up and scratching the wall naked, and the guy's trying to like kill himself or whatever with the shotgun.
He has some
they
problems.
all have mental issues, and that was really unsettling and creepy, especially for me. And then
because
of course
you didn't know what was real and what was fake until that revelation.
Yeah, that they're not really their grandparents, which all made it that much more creepy. And then, of course, there was the...
And then they had to stay there for a couple hours afterwards.
Yeah, and then there was the ending, which was pretty scary, where the old lady goes crazy and gets stabbed, of course.
By the girl.
By the girl, which was good. And then the kid gets old man turds in his face.
That was
it was
gross.
It was gross.
But it was scary because...
And, I liked how it kind of wrapped up, because it said, like, when he was doing the football and stuff, that he couldn't move, and that was kind of why he was so scared, and then at the end, he just broke free and, like, attacked that old guy when he was attacking his sister.
And that
I
was
thought that really, like, hit it home.
And the same thing with the girl, and she couldn't look at herself in the mirror. That was her problem, is that she couldn't look at herself in the mirror. And they both had problems with their dad leaving them.
Yeah, I think...
Which it made a little more sense for the son, because he had problems when he was playing football, and he messed up at the game, and with him standing still, and that's when his dad left. So in a normal movie, I would be like, okay, you could do it a little better.
Because in a lot of horror movies, they don't really wrap that up.
Right.
They just kind of kill the people, and they're like, okay. And I think that played really well. One more thing before we go is that the soundtrack for this movie was awesome. I loved it. Well. It was just creepy.
And it's really... There isn't much of a soundtrack. Like, a lot of these
It's true. There's just not that much music, just besides from, like, the main parts when it needs it. And I think it really worked well for the movie's advantage. So, if you haven't watched The Visit yet, go see it in theaters now. It's scary, and you're going to love it. So make sure to check it out. Tell them hauntformer and Jared sent you. Yes. They probably don't know who we are. But check it out anyways. So thank you again for watching this R.I.P. review, and remember, for all things Halloween, this is
Yahtzee!
Hauntformer.